Samson and Delilah's shocking betrayal. The unbelievable seduction that crushed a champion's fate. Few knew what truly happened that night in the dimly lit chambers of ancient Gaza. Whispers filled the air, echoed through the stone walls of the Philistine city. Was it a betrayal designed in shadows? Or a love that spiraled into chaos? Samson, a towering figure strong enough to rip a lion apart, now fell prey to the gentlest of whispers. No one could have foreseen the depths of his downfall, as the passionate gaze of Delilah, the stunning beauty with secrets deeper than the sea, locked onto him, her intentions masked in sweetness. This was a time when power meant everything. The Israelites were under the heavy hand of the Philistines. A fierce warrior like Samson was the hope of his people, a shining beacon against the oppressive enemy. The tension hung thick as Samson faced the looming threat at every turn. Yet, the battlefield now shifted from blood and spears to desire and deceit. Was it possible that love could turn a champion into a victim? Imagine that night of flickering candles casting dancing shadows, the air heavy with the scent of flowers and treachery. Delilah's laughter echoed softly, filled with allure, yet shrouded in danger. As she wrapped her arms around him, a tempest brewed in Samson's heart. He felt the heat of her breath, the warmth of her skin, intoxicating him. But beneath her enchantment, a treacherous plan brewed. The Philistines waited in silence, eager to exploit his weakness. Each passing moment built a wall around his resolve, brick by agonizing brick. Secrets lay at her fingertips, the source of his strength, the uncut hair that bestowed upon him incredible power. But could he trust her? Did he dare to open his heart to the very one who might shatter his world? Tension crackled like thunder in the humid air. Trust and betrayal danced in a violent waltz, leading to a desperate climax. Would Samson succumb, or would he save himself from the whirlwind of deception? And as the flames of desire ignited, what betrayal lurked beneath that soft gaze? Could love blossom amid the thorns of manipulation? The night was young, but danger lingered like a dark omen over their entwined fates. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the dim light of the flickering candles, the air thickened with tension as Delilah's voice melted into a sultry whisper, wrapping around Samson like the silken drapes that adorned her chambers. Her laughter, sweetened by the intoxicating fragrance of myrrh and spices, echoed softly, yet each note held a deeper resonance of impending doom. Samson's heart pounded within his chest, a warrior's drum now caught in the rhythm of desire and doubt. Outside, the shadowy figures of the Philistine guards lay concealed, waiting in hushed anticipation, their hearts driven by greed for Samson's power. They had seen the destruction he wrought in their city, the fear he instilled in their hearts. To learn his secret, to clip the wings of the mighty, was to secure their dominion. Yet, within those same walls, the delicate game of affection played on, each moment steeped in uncertainty. "Why do you shy away from me, strong one?" Delilah asked, her gaze piercing through the walls he had so carefully constructed. "Do you not trust me?" The question lingered in the air, a dagger hidden beneath layers of velvet. Samson's hands, once weapons of great strength, now trembled slightly at her touch. "Trust, sweet Delilah, is a fragile thing," he murmured, trying to temper the storm that brewed within him. "The weight of betrayal is heavy, and I know not how far you might carry it." Delilah's smile faltered for a fleeting moment, revealing a glimmer of vulnerability masked beneath her allure. Was this a fleeting glimpse of sincerity amidst her cunning? Or was it merely another strand in the web she wove around him? The tension crackled like the charge of lightning prior to a storm, illuminating the darkness of his doubt. As the candlelight danced upon her features, each shadow played tricks upon his mind, lending her a visage of both divine beauty and calculated menace. His thoughts drifted to the past, the weight of his calling, and the whispers of the Almighty. From birth, he had been chosen, marked by a covenant that rested upon his unshorn hair. His strength was not merely a gift, but an expectation thrust upon him by a people who leaned on him for salvation. Could a heart too wrapped in desire falter before such an oath? Tell me your secret. Let me share your burden, Delilah coaxed, the softness of her voice a stark contrast to the pressure mounting within him. Was it true compassion she offered, or the final maneuver of a treacherous heart? In that moment, Samson looked deeply into her eyes, searching for an answer that eluded even him. Beyond their moment, the weight of Israel's fate hung precariously. Each heartbeat resonated with the cries of his brethren, suffering under the rule of the Philistines. In his mind's eye, he saw their faces of mothers, the children, the elderly, all longing for a savior, a champion to wield a deliverance that now teetered on the edge of his own choices. Yet, amidst the chaos of longing and fear, a deeper spiritual mystery stirred within him. His connection to the divine felt strained, as if the open channels of trust were closing like petals at dusk. Was love so intoxicating that it blinded him from the sacred pledge he bore? Or, perhaps, was Delilah a harbinger of destiny, unknowingly guiding him to a path yet untraveled, a choice that would echo into eternity? Samson, she breathed, her breath warm against his skin, do you not see? Together, we are strong. But alone, you carry a burden far too heavy. The flicker of the candle cast shadows that morphed into shapes resembling broken chains, a promise of freedom or enforceable bondage. His dilemma grew. Trust clashed with doubt, love entwined with betrayal. What fate awaited him, should he unveil his heart? Was Delilah merely a beautiful serpent in the garden of his strength, or could she be the unexpected key to a divine plan he could not yet fathom? In a heartbeat, the world around him fell silent, narrowing to the weight of a single question arising like a specter in the quiet shadows. In surrendering his secret, would he shatter his very foundation, or discover something far greater, hidden within the depths of his soul? As the flickering light cast a pale glow upon their faces, the silence settled between them like a thick fog, laden with unspoken words. Delilah leaned closer, her voice softening further, almost as if she feared that any louder tone would shatter the fragile moment. "Oh, mighty Samson, do you not see the tempest in my heart? All I desire is to know you wholly, to enchant you with my devotion." Samson's heart wrestled with uncertainty, torn between the yearning for connection and the instinctual fear of exposure. Her allure was undeniable, a passionate fire that kindled both warmth and destruction. Yet, he could not ignore the growing sense of foreboding, a whisper from the depths of his spirit that hinted at a perilous crossroads. Devotion, he echoed, the word heavy on his tongue. What is devotion when separated from truth? Can trust truly flourish where secrets dwell? He felt a chill run down his spine, for every glance from Delilah seemed to uncover an inner struggle, a yearning to reveal his very essence, yet a dread of the chains that such revelation might forge. Delilah's expression shifted, the playful allure fading momentarily, as a frown creased her brow. "You speak of chains, yet you are the heaviest of all, beloved. Your strength, a burden and a blessing intertwined. There are those who see you not as a savior, but as a foe, and the weight of their fear rests upon your shoulders." His mind turned to the infamy that followed him, the tales of his battles, the awe and terror he evoked. He spotted the flickering shadows in the corners of Delilah's chambers, reminiscent of the blurred lines between his fate and that of his people. He was their champion, yet the heart of the champion bore its own sacred vulnerabilities. "What am I, Delilah? A man forged from the miraculous, yet shackled by my very gifts? A pillar of my destiny, trembling under the weight of doubt?" She reached for his hand, her touch ethereal and grounding all at once. Perhaps you are both. You are the mightiest among men, but also the most human. Let me in, and together we will confront all that you fear." The flames danced higher, a community of souls longing for hope illuminating the darkness surrounding them. It began to dawn on him that perhaps Delilah, though veiled in the shadows of his uncertainty, carried a light of her own, a light that could bring forth revelation amid the tumult of their journey. Yet there echoed the question of whether that light would lead to his salvation or to ruin. "The whispers of the Almighty filled my heart, calling me to rise against the oppressive hand of our enemies," he murmured, looking skyward for answers. "But there stands a terrible gravity. The love I bear for you strains against the sacred vow I have taken." Delilah's grip tightened around his hand, as if she could bridge the chasm between their wills. "Then let your love be your guide, not your burden. Is it not possible that through me, you discover the profound wisdom of your own truth?" Caught in the turbulence of emotions, he felt the weight of Israel's cries pressing into their sacred cocoon. Was it possible that love, this fiery bond between them, could illuminate, rather than obscure, the path he was destined to walk? What if his very vulnerability was the root of his greatest power, hidden in the depth of shared tenderness? Yet dread persisted, like a shadow lurking just beneath the surface. Was she to be his greatest ally or his eventual undoing? The truth remained obscured, evading him like an elusive specter haunting the corridors of his mind. "Will you trust in what we can create together?" she breathed softly, "or will you retreat into the shadows of your uncertainty?" Samson met her gaze, that deep abyss drawing him ever closer to the brink of revealing his grand secret. With the ever-looming presence of the Philistine guards outside, his breast became shallow, laden with the gravity of uncharted territory. Would unveiling his heart to her forge a connection strong enough to tear down the walls around them, or would it ultimately incite a treachery too potent to bear? The question hung heavy, and the echoes of fate reverberated endlessly within, leaving the deepest of mysteries yet unsolved. As the embers of the fire burned low, casting an amber hue upon the once raucous chamber, Samson found himself adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The shadows, which danced across the walls, echoed the turmoil within him, mirroring the conflict between his unwavering pride and the quiet vulnerability taking root in his soul. Delilah's words hovered in the air, thick with possibility and peril. He looked deep into her eyes, searching for clarity, yet he found only the reflection of his own turmoil. What if the very love that could save me was intertwined with the danger of my own secrets? He asked, feeling the tremor in his voice. "Secrets are like chains that bind the heart," she replied, her eyes glistening with an earnestness that both soothed and disturbed him. "But unburdening yourself of them can release the most glorious of strengths. If you wish to be set free, you must trust in me." Samson's mind drifted to the sacred vow etched upon his being, the covenant that distinguished him, the promises made to the Almighty, accompanied by the blessings of strength and purpose. Was sharing his truth an act of forsaking that sacred bond? In that moment of silence, the faint sound of distant voices reached his ear, instilling fear that their cherished sanctuary was not as secure as they believed. He glanced toward the door, barely visible through the flickering light, but then returned his gaze to Delilah, capturing the flame of her presence. "Why do you desire to know my truth so fervently? Is your affection genuine, or a tool to pry loose my deepest fears?" he questioned, feeling an ache in his chest with every passing word. She inhaled deeply, as if grounding herself in conviction. "Samson, do you not see? It is your strength that intrigues me, yes. But it is not the muscle and might alone that I desire. It is your spirit, the man beneath the champion, who battles daily within the confines of his own heart. Let me know you, and perhaps then the world will know the breadth of your power." He contemplated her words, feeling the weight of a choice before him. But along with that truth lay the ominous presence of destiny, lurking just beyond the veil of their fragile bond. Each heart he had battled in the name of Israel cried out for his return, yet here he stood teetering on the brink of a revelation that threatened to untie the very fabric of who he was. Will uncovering my truth release me from the burdens I carry, or will it expose me to the vulnerabilities that can bring ruin? He pondered aloud, grappling with the notion of surrendering pieces of himself. The answer lies within, she encouraged softly, brushing her fingertips against his arm, sending a shiver of warmth through his body. You must be willing to look past the shadows of uncertainty, and trust that I am here as a guide, not a foe. What is love, if not a mirror reflecting the hidden depths of your soul? Delilah's sincerity reached him in a way he hadn't anticipated, awakening something yearning within him. The walls that had always seemed impenetrable began to crack, and for a fleeting moment, he pondered the possibility of weaving their destinies together, interlacing strength with vulnerability. Yet, the haunt of apprehension lingered in the recesses of his mind, wrapping around his heart like chains he could not unshackle. He could almost hear the distant cries of the oppressed, the weight of their suffering pressing upon him like the air thick with an impending storm. What if I bare my soul, and find myself bereft of the very strength I possess? What then, Delilah? He gasped softly, the realization of his dilemma washing over him. She leaned closer, a fierce determination alight in her eyes. Then we will discover the new strength together, my beloved. But first, you must tell me your truth. The path ahead felt uncertain, a swirling haze of choices suspended in the air, waiting to solidify into the fabric of his fate. As the distant voices of the world pressed closer, he considered her plea, torn between the longing to share and the instinct to guard against what it might unleash. The flickering flames now flickered in tune with the pounding of his heart, illuminating the stark contrast of their combined destinies. Yet, the question remained, was the unveiling of his truth a necessary step towards salvation, or would it lead him down a path of unimaginable darkness? As he wrestled with this choice, the very essence of his being was caught in a contradiction, leaving him to wonder what the cost of love truly could be. As the solemn night enveloped them, a tense silence descended upon the room, thick with questions left unanswered. The flickering fire continued to cast shadows on the walls, yet it now seemed to pulse with an energy of its own, a foreboding reminder of the decisions looming before them. Samson, grappling with the tumult swirling within, felt the weight of their moment pressing down upon him like a great force threatening to break him. "Tell me, Delilah," he finally uttered, his voice steadier than he felt. "What drives you to seek the depths of my heart? There must be more than mere curiosity in your eyes." She hesitated for a fleeting moment, a flicker of something intangible passing through her gaze, a hesitation he could not quite grasp. "Perhaps," she began, "it is not merely my desire to know you, but rather a longing to unveil the truth behind the stories written on your soul. For you are a man encased in myth, and I seek to uncover the man you think you cannot reveal." The sincerity in her voice sent a shiver through him, igniting a solemn vulnerability deep within. This revelation was almost a beckoning, urging him to step closer to the precipice of his own truth. But that same truth felt like both the key to enlightenment and a harbinger of doom, hovering just beyond reach. Does unveiling lead to empowerment, or will it expose me to my downfall? He asked, uncertainty threading through his speech. What if your intentions spring from a place that I am too blind to recognize? The world out there has betrayed before. Could you too be weaving a snare among the threads of your words? Her expression softened, as a whisper of anguish crossed her features, but her determination remained unbroken. "I speak not of treachery, Samson. Love inspires deeper revelations, and all I yearn for is the man hidden beneath the string, the man torn between duty and desire." The dichotomy of duty weighed heavily on him, the cries of his people resonating like a distant drum. He was the judge born of divine strength, tasked with leading his people through tumult. Yet here, alone with Delilah, the chaos simmered within. If his secrets were ever laid bare, how would this revelation echo through the tribes? Would the hope of their deliverance pair with the fear of the unknown? Gradually, the shadows of doubt began to morph into something more, a craving for connection, a thirst for understanding that had long been buried beneath his armor. What if embracing his vulnerabilities could summon forth a power he had yet to comprehend? A power that bound love and might together in a way that transcended the fleeting fears of the world outside? What if I were to share my truth? Would it change the fate of my people? He contemplated aloud, each word steadying his resolve, while simultaneously unraveling his trepidations. In revealing myself, I risk not only my legacy, but the very purpose for which I was born. The truth is a river, Samson, Delilah replied earnestly, her voice like a balm healing the wounds of hesitation. When we share our truth, we carve new pathways in each other's hearts. It is in the act of sharing that we both learn to navigate unknown territory. The currents may be strong, but together we can create a new flow, one of mutual trust and strength. As her words washed over him, he felt a flicker of hope in his spirit, an impetus urging him closer to that edge of revelation, even as doubts began to swell like the tide. A river may carve through mountains, he murmured, contemplating the deeply spiritual implications. But what if it leads me to the abyss? Can faith sustain me there? In that moment, their eyes locked, an electric understanding weaving through the air between the man, understanding tinged with both fear and possibility. The binding forces of his past collided with the potential for something profound, igniting a flicker of strength within the heart of the champion. Yet, uncertainty still flickered in the back of his mind, like embers yet to die. As reflections of light and shadow danced around them, he considered the burden of their collective truth, how it may either elevate their love or cast it into the depths of despair. With the whispers of the outside world rising, Samson felt a sense of urgency press upon him like a gathering storm. He was aware that the moment was slipping away, and should he hesitate, the whispers might turn into roars, leaving him unmoored amid turbulence. With the flames flickering, light emanating warmth, the question arose once more, echoing through his heart. Would unveiling his truth entwine their fates in a divine narrative, or would it unravel everything he had fought for? In the soft glow, the truth loomed like a formidable shadow, waiting for him to cast away fear in order to reclaim the very essence of who he was before it was too late. As dawn broke over the horizon, a hesitant light spilled into the room, illuminating the worn faces of Samson and Delilah. Their shared silence now felt both fragile and potent, a sacred pause before the storm of revelations that loomed ahead. Within Samson stirred an unease. The gravity of his power weighed heavily against the tender complexities of connection. Delilah, he began, the name rolling off his tongue like a prayer, a link to the possibility of a future forged in trust or shattered by betrayal. What if in knowing me, you forsake your own strength? You speak of longing for my truths, but what of your own? The question hung between them, a rope suspended over a chasm of uncertainty. Delilah regarded him with eyes that sparkled like morning dew, glistening with secrets and the gravity of choices yet to be made. I have no shame in my desires, Samson. To get to know your heart, your fiercest to embrace your truth. In forging this connection, I find the light I've been seeking. A quiet ripple of understanding passed between them, tethering their spirits across the gulf of their pasts. Yet, the fleeting warmth faltered under the weight of the unknown. What truths lay hidden in his heart, and was he prepared to bear them not just for Delilah, but also for himself? He had long defined himself by strength, by the mantle of his assignment as judge, and the thought of exposing any fragility felt perilous. Every truth has its consequences, he warned, his voice low but steady. In peeling away the layers, I fear what I may unveil an essence that could render me vulnerable, not just to you, but to all who gaze upon me. What is strength, anyway? She asked, leaning closer. Is it merely the power of one's arms, or is it the ability to stand fiercely in one's own nakedness, even when the world may recoil? There is strength in loving not just the mighty, but the vulnerable, both within ourselves and in one another. Her words wove through him, a tapestry of insight that began to unravel the knots of doubt within. What if true strength lay beyond the battlefield? Instead, It resided in his ability to embrace his multifaceted humanity. Was he not living proof of both might and fragility? Turning inward, he recalled the moments in the quiet of his heart when layers of grief intertwined with pride, each a testament to the complexities of his existence. What if I let my guard down, only to discover that love is not an anchor, but a burden? He voiced the fear lurking like a shadow, waiting to leap forth at the slightest opening. What if my fears, pasts, and powers coalesce into storms that sweep us away? Delilah's response was poised, each word heavy with reassurance. Should you set sail into the unknown, do not forget that you cannot weather every storm alone. Just as your strength is amplified through your people, my love shall be the wind guiding your ship. We can navigate together, guiding each other. As the morning light began to bathe him in warmth, a gradual acceptance of his own uncertainties enveloped him, much like soft fabric wrapping around a wound. Perhaps her words were an invitation, urging him to glimpse a new path beyond the threshold of fear. Samson contemplated then, in an act of genuine bravery, stepping closer to authenticity even if it meant singularly exposing the hidden aspects of himself he had long sought to conceal. He searched her eyes, feeling the pulse of their connection deepen. But what if the truth I unearth is so stark, it drives us irrevocably apart? His voice almost trembled as the question pressed forth, an ache that lingered like the memories he buried. For a moment, the air around them thickened with unspoken possibilities, as they stood on the precipice of something fraught with tension and hope. In that precarious balance, he felt an awakening stir in the depths of his soul. A warning resonated, both intricate and simple. The path to discovery often invites chaos, yet that very chaos could lead them to unparalleled revelations. As the sun ascended higher, painting the world in hues of gold, Samson grappled with both looming thoughts and his heart's longing for connection. It was as if the very air quivered with anticipation of the answers they sought. Would unveiling his truth liberate them, or summon darkness? In that moment, Samson found himself caught in the gentle tug-of-war between fear and the desire to be truly seen. How could he pincer together power with love without faltering? The spark of revelation loomed ever closer, awaiting him to bridge the gap between vulnerability and strength. As the first light of day mirrored the inner flicker of possibility, a new question rumbled through him. Is it possible that the depths of our fears hold the keys to the greatest strength we can acquire? And in seeking that strength, will we ultimately expose what we cherish most? As the sun climbed further into the sky, soft beams danced upon the floor, illuminating the canvas of their shared lives, brilliant and terrifying in its potential. Samson took a deep breath, inhaling the sweet air perfumed with blooming jasmine. Yet a lingering tension coiled within him, turning the tranquility of the morning into an echo of unrest. Delilah, he began once more, lifting his gaze to meet hers, searching for the strength he had been longing to convey. What is it you truly seek in me? Is it my power, or is it the man who wears it? His words were not just questions. They were offerings unspooled from the depths of his soul, vulnerable threads that, once released, could never be retracted. Her brows knitted together, revealing the deep currents of her thoughts. Is that what you believe? That I would forsake my own essence to seek yours? To love you solely for your might? I fear that our paths are a crossroads of deception, he admitted, raw emotion staining his voice. When one stands ever so proud on the crumbling edge of their glory, it becomes easy to mistake adoration for love. Just as the sun can blind the eyes with its brilliance, perhaps my strength has masked the man inside. Delilah reached out, her fingertips brushing against his arm, as if to tether both of them to a reality more substantial than the fraying threads of fear. Samson, I see you, the heart that beats beneath the mantle of strength. My love does not hinge on the legend. It bends around the man who aches beneath the weight of his own destiny. But can you see it? Can you allow yourself to be known? The biting fear still clutched at his heart, twisting and coiling like a serpent ready to strike. How could he possibly reveal the truth of his existence? a truth not defined by the grand tales of strength and victory, but by the quieter shadows of doubt and longing. The very thought sent tremors racing through him. "I have heard stories," he confessed, "of how love can shape and reshape worlds, but I have never witnessed anything so powerful that it bounds a man to himself, to the honesty of his being. If I strip myself bare, what remains? An empty vessel, or a heart laden with scars? Neither," she whispered fervently. "What remains is a story uniquely your own, one that can find meaning in the scars, a purpose in the emptiness. Therein lies strength. You must trust that in sharing your darkness with me, my light shall only amplify it, not shatter it." In the silence that surrounded them, the wind outside rustled through the leaves, as if the universe itself held its breath. It was a moment stretched in infinite possibilities. Samson pondered her words, caught between the allure of her tempting invitation and the weight of the fears gnawing at his resolve. Could love truly illuminate the darkest corners of his heart? Would vulnerability hurl him into the chasms of despair, or could it become a bridge leading them to a stronger bond? "Tell me, Delilah," he inquired, the air thickened with the intensity of his curiosity. "What if my truth unveils not just my fragility, but fury, resentment, the very shadows I've buried deep within? Is that a love worth pursuing? A darkness that possibly could swallow you?" Her expression softened, a depth of sincerity radiating from her. "Every person carries shadows, Samson. Perhaps you view your truth as monstrous, but to me, it becomes a part of the tapestry, each thread essential to the whole. Love does not shy away from darkness. It dances with it, weaves through it, and ultimately finds beauty within. As hope entwined with doubt, he allowed himself to envision a life unshackled from the chains of his past. The burden he had carried for so long, being a mighty warrior destined to be a solitary figure, slowly began to yield to the prospect of shared strength. Yet, the haunting specter of betrayal lingered like an uninvited guest, an ever-present shadow in the light of their burgeoning connection. How does one reconcile their need for connection with the fear of betrayal? "If I lay my heart at your feet, how can I trust you won't tread upon it?" The raw sincerity of his questions hung in the solitude of the air, filled with an aching indefiniteness. Delilah stepped closer, her voice gentle yet unwavering. "Trust is a fragile seed, dear Samson. It must be nurtured and cultivated over time. One must plant it in courage and feed it with understanding. Only then can it grow into something beautiful, even when darkness attempts to creep back in. Whatever unravels from your heart, I vow to stand beside you, not against you." As her words settled into his growing hope, profound questions began to weave through his bruised concept of identity. What emerges when weakness meets grace? Can love truly mend the fractures of betrayal even before they occur? With the sunlight spilling between them, their hearts stood poised at the brink of possibility, inviting unknown paths to blossom. Thus, he pondered as he felt the warmth of her presence wrap around him. Can the heart truly thrive amidst the shadows of our fears? And if love is the bridge, what inevitable storms might it face on that journey? In the soft embrace of twilight, with the horizon painted in hues of gold and crimson, Samson found himself wandering within the labyrinth of his thoughts. The air felt charged, as though the heavens were whispering secrets meant only for him. With each step, the grass beneath his feet whispered tales of courage entwined with heartache, reminding him of the duality he faced. A hero outwardly strong yet privately vulnerable. He reached the edge of a small brook, where the water gently babbled and the ripples danced with a life of their own. Kneeling, he cupped his hands to gather the cool liquid, letting it trickle through his fingers, each droplet echoing the weight of his struggles. The water reflected not only his image, but also the turmoil coursing through him. It was a murky reflection of the man he was, broken yet hopeful, feared yet cherished. Gazing into the brook, he recalled Delilah's words, so full of promise, and yet holding a hint of uncertainty. Her devotion shone brightly in contrast to the shadows lingering at the periphery of their love. For every light, there must be darkness to define it. Could their bond, forged in passionate understanding, truly withstand the tremors of betrayal that had marred his past? As the question swirled in his mind, he began to hear voices, a distant echo merging with the night. The murmured conversations of townsfolk nearby spilled over into his reverie, threads of intrigue woven through tales of the mighty champion. Whispers of his strength, fearsome and unmatched, dulled the senses of those who spoke them, yet ignited a different kind of light in others. In the echoes of love, was there also a lurking hum of deceit? With each moment of silence, the haunting refrain of doubt returned. Was he truly more than the stories that defined him? Would Delilah remain steadfast should his darker truths come to light? The weight of this unrelenting worry tugged at him, a heaviness that threatened to submerge him beneath the currents of his unresolved past. The brook, a steady companion, sang a gentle hymn of cleansing. With a tentative heart, he spoke aloud, "If only the waters could wash away the specters of doubt that haunt my heart. If each lapse into shadow could be banished by this river's flowing grace." As his voice broke against the night, he closed his eyes, and let the cool breeze wash over him, hoping to cleanse his spirit even more. Yet, as he sat in reflection, he could not ignore the transformation weaving through the fabric of his thoughts. Perhaps belonging truly begins when one embraces both the light and the dark, refusing to allow one to overshadow the other. Could their love carry such weight, bearing the duality of their existence? With Delilah at his side, he might find the strength to explore both, even those parts that held the most fear. Suddenly, a scent brushed against him, a stark divide from the perfume of jasmine, carrying an unsettling familiarity. Samson opened his eyes, recognizing the fleeting whispers of danger. He turned to find an unfamiliar figure lingering at the edge of the light, cloaked in shadows that felt all too well remembered. "Samson," the figure called out, voice mottled with malice, yet reminiscent of something lost. "What a tangled web you've chosen to weave! Hearts entwined with the promise of trust carry within them the greatest betrayals." The irony struck him with acute clarity, a chessboard of intentions laid bare before him. This figure illuminated a flicker of apprehension in his heart. It was one he dared not ignore. Was this voice a remnant of his past, or a glimpse into the emerging trials that would confront his love for Delilah, who seeks to unravel the threads of love in this dusk-lit moment? Samson replied, clenching his fists with resolve. "What do you want from me, here in this realm of uncertainty?" "I seek nothing but to remind you of the storm that brews in the heart of man," the figure retorted, stepping forward just enough for Samson to glimpse a familiar yet distorted face. "You stand on the precipice of revelation and ruin. Choose wisely, for the shadows have a way of meshing within the light." Torn between the past and the present realities, Samson stood at the brink of insight, grappling with the specter gazing down at him. The intimacy of their bond, and the weight of the truths he harbored could lead him toward profound transformation or irrevocable sorrow. His thoughts danced like the candle flames behind him, flickering yet stubbornly pressing forward. Would he allow the fears rooted in betrayal to fracture the kernel of love blossoming within him? Could the embrace of vulnerability lead to upliftment, or would it spell his ultimate downfall? Silence descended once more. The night held its breath, the stars twinkling with secret knowledge. In that muted tableau, Samson pondered, what sacrifices must be made to truly embrace love's duality, and when the storm inevitably descends, how can one ensure that trust remains unbroken amidst the chaos? As the weight of the figure's presence pressed heavily upon him, the moon revealed itself, bathing the brook and the surrounding trees in a silvery glow. The shadow loosened, allowing Samson a clearer view of the form standing before him. It was familiar, yet the twisted essence of its demeanor spoke of betrayal and deception. An old friend turned adversary. "Are you so blinded by your own might, Samson?" the figure challenged, now stepping fully into the moonlight. It was a man he once regarded as brother, a fellow Israelite whose laughter had echoed in the same halls of strength and valor. "You walk a path of darkness veiled in light, thinking love alone can illuminate your way. But remember these: a heart swayed by desire is a heart that can be led astray. Samson's heart raced as he recognized the man's face, a mix of familiarity and disdain weaving through the memories of their shared past. "Why do you confront me now, Zimri? What shadows haunt your intentions?" His voice was a strained wire, ready to snap. "I come with a warning," Zimri replied, gestures filled with urgency yet cloaked in menace. "Delilah is a cunning seductress, enmeshed in a greater design. There are whispered conspiracies that reach even unto the thrones of Philistia. You wear your strength like a crown, but they seek the roots of that strength, my friend. And she is your weakest link." Doubt tumbled within Samson like stones cascading down a cliffside. "You know better than to speak ill of a woman whose heart I cherish. What proof do you have? Leave her out of your games, Zimri. Do not conflate fear with reality." Zimri stepped closer, his voice low and grave. "You wish to elevate her above suspicion, yet your heart is already tethered to the strings of fate. The deceit lurks in every embrace. They promise gold and power for your fall. Would you see Delilah rise as your downfall?" The moon seemed to press closer, intensifying the gravity of Zimri's words. Samson wrestled with the storm brewing inside him, his self-assuredness faltering against the battering ram of fear. "Would you dare to claim she is my enemy? This love we share, forged amidst trials and joy, cannot simply bend to the will of those who misunderstand. But love blinds you," Zimri pressed, his own desperation surfacing. "In your strength, you built walls so high you cannot see the cracks. The price of this union could well be your very soul when they come for you for her." Samson turned back to the brook, where the surface was now a tapestry of rippling thoughts, each wave casting shadows as well as light. It mirrored his turmoil, the duality of trust and caution repeatedly clashing like thunder in the distance. "What if your warning is nothing more than the fabrications of your own envy? You will need more than whispers to sever our bond. I offer this truth, because I once called you brother," Zimri exclaimed, his eyes aflame with fervor. "Do not let the whispers of the heart drown out the cries of warning from a friend. Open your eyes, Samson. Love can become a noose, binding you tighter with every act of surrender. Beware of false intentions masked as affection." Samson could feel the air thickening with uncertainty, igniting within him a fire of defiance, but now tempered with caution. Was this truly a warning, or a desperate plea from a friend lost to bitterness? He sought the heavens for clarity, while grappling with his own fears. "Your words cut deep, Zimri," he confessed, a sigh escaping him. "But the heart of my love is not a vessel made to fracture under doubt. I must discern the thin line between fear and wisdom. I will not shatter the foundation of my heart on mere speculation." In the stillness that followed, Zimri's expression softened, revealing the conflict waging within him. "Then tread carefully, for the duality of your existence will hang in balance upon the choices you make. Seek the truth that lies beneath the shimmer of affection." As Zimri retreated back into the shadows, the weight of his presence lingered like a shadow cast by the moon. Samson remained, the brook's murmurs now tangled with the echo of doubt. Could his path of love withstand the currents of betrayal that flowed through the hearts of men? Standing alone by the water's edge, Samson pondered, how might one discern the sincerity of love when the very affections designed to uplift could also lead to one's ruin? Would he be brave enough to navigate the uncharted waters of his heart in the face of mounting uncertainty? As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a golden light across the land, Samson stood in the tension of his thoughts, tormented by Zimri's warnings. The events of the past few days weighed heavy on his heart, leaving him caught in the storm of doubt and devotion. He watched the brook before him, its clear waters flowing steadily, unmarred by the chaos of emotion swirling within him, perhaps representing the guidance he sought for himself. Delilah's voice echoed in his mind, her confessions of love and moments of vulnerability drawing him inexplicably closer to her. Yet, the specter of betrayal now loomed larger and more menacing than before. Could love truly flourish amidst the pitfalls of trust? The reflections in the brook flickered like memories, shimmering and beautiful, yet tainted by the complexities of reality. With the days stretching before him, an unexpected courage blossomed within. The journey of self-discovery beckoned him to challenge the dark shadows of doubt. If I must traverse these uncharted waters of my own heart, then let me do so with intention, he murmured to himself, the resolve strengthening like the muscles that had once stood as symbols of his might. Moments later, he gathered his courage and headed back toward Delilah's chambers, the flickering thoughts of betrayal still haunting him, a bittersweet melody urging him to uncover the truth. The path felt fraught, yet a flicker of hope illuminated the corridor, urging him forth, with the promise of love and vulnerability. As he entered her chambers, he found Delilah sitting quietly, her back turned. The gentle breeze wafted through the open window, carrying with it the fragrance of flowers, yet an undercurrent of tension thickened the air. "Delilah," he spoke softly, setting for himself the stage of honesty, "the strength I carry within me is tethered to much more than mere power. There exists a heart burdened by the weight of fears, doubts, and even worse, betrayal." She turned to face him, her expression a mixture of concern and anticipation. "What troubles you, my love?" Her voice, gentle yet firm, reached into the chambers of his heart. "I have been visited by shadows," he confessed, his heart racing. "Whispers of treachery lurk in the corners of my mind, insinuating that you might not be the ally I believe you to be." The words hung suspended between them, the essence of trust shivering in the air. Delilah's expression softened, and a hint of sadness flickered in her eyes. "Samson, love is both radiant and complex. It dances through the chambers of our hearts, revealing our deepest truths. I would not cast aside the light of what we share to bind you in darkness. I stand here, caught in the whirlwind of uncertainty," he breathed, searching her gaze for clarity. "In revealing my fears, I risk exposing myself to a vulnerability I have long held at bay." "Vulnerability is the birthplace of connection, my beloved," she replied, stepping closer. "It is the moment we dare to be known that we usher in the fullness of love. Unveil your heart to me, and together, we will bind our strengths against the whispers of betrayal." As her words resonated within the very marrow of his being, he felt the tumult of emotions release their grip, surrendering to a shared journey of discovery. "Then I shall cast aside my shadows. I will allow you the depth of my truth," he declared, resolution igniting in his chest. The flickering candlelight mirrored the embers of change stirring within him. With trepidation yet fierce determination, Samson bore the weight of his past off his grandeur, his strength, and the burden of expectations. "I am not merely the champion who tears apart lion or man. Beneath this strength lies a heart that trembles under the agony of its solitude. Know this, I am capable of darkness just as I am of light." Delilah's eyes sparkled, a blend of sorrow and admiration. "Then let us explore both together. For it is in traversing the shadows that we will illuminate the depths of our love. I promise I shall hold your heart with tenderness." At that moment, an unexpected warmth surged through them, intertwining their realities. The familiar fear that had once crouched within him morphed into a force that propelled him forward. Hand in hand, they delved into the mystery of one another, uncovering hidden truths layered amidst vulnerability. For hours, they shared their fears, aspirations, and the shadows that had haunted them, weaving a tapestry that connected their souls in ways Samson had never envisioned possible. With each revelation, the bonds that had threatened to fracture were mended through the bravery of shared vulnerability. Each story revealed not only the complexity of their individual journeys, but also the beauty of their interwoven fates. Then, at last, he released a breath he didn't know he had been holding. "Even amidst our betrayals and flaws, could this love endure? You have seen the depths of my darkness, though you still wish to remain?" Her response came, a gentle whisper mingled with fierce conviction. "When we dare to love amidst the storm, we cultivate resilience. Our strengths intertwined can serve as shields, protecting us from the harms that may seek to sever what we have cultivated. In that moment, Samson felt a swell of not just hope, but belief, a deep abiding faith rooted in the shared pledges made between them. Their bond, now a powerful testament of love in its most genuine form, was fortified through the surrender of their hearts. Yet, just as the embrace of their love hung like dew on the cusp of dawn, the shadows lurked still. The harbingers of threat had not vanished from outside their sanctuary. As they stood together, ready to face what lay ahead, the call to the divinity who had chosen him at birth echoed gently in his heart. Would he have the strength to confront the very chains that bound his people? In the echo of that query, Samson felt the true power within him radiate, a reminder that he could wield his strength not just for individual glory, but for communal salvation. Could love truly be his guiding force? As they clasped hands, a new resolve enveloped them both, one forged in love and vulnerability. Together, they would confront the enemies that schemed for his downfall, drawing strength not merely from the might of his hands, but from the depths of his heart. Their love would become a shelter against the winds of betrayal, and from that day forth, questions no longer lingered unanswered. Samson vowed in his heart that he would venture forth, armed not only with his formidable strength, but also with a heart anchored in unity, and a spirit brought forth by vulnerability. And in that resolute promise, the whispers of the divine ignited his path, carving out a destiny far greater than the sum of their fears. As day turned to night, he looked upon Delilah, the delicate weave of strength and love surrounding them, reminding him that true power lies not just in the body, but in the willingness to stand together against the storm. In his heart, a new story began, one not merely of a champion, but of a man reborn, wielding love that could shake the very foundations of their world. With Delilah beside him, they would face their destiny, igniting passion against the darkness that dared to threaten their bond. And as they stepped into the unfolding tale before them, the echoes of their love whispered through the shadows, vowing that they would rise, stronger than before, a testament to the power of trust woven through the dance of light and shadow, forever illuminating the path of faith.